All right. Hello, everyone. Hey, guys. Welcome to Trail Talk. We're really glad you're joining us today. I'm Edie, and we're here at the Chisholm Trail Heritage Center in Duncan, Oklahoma, in our Chuck Wagon studio, one of our favorite places to meet. And we have very special guests with us today. This is Laura McGouran and Susan Nutt. And Laura and Susan are here representing the Foreman Prairie House, right? The president and vice president of the board, respectively. And so they're going to talk to us a little bit about the history of the Foreman House. And I mean, if you've never been there, let me encourage you to go. It's a very interesting tour, and we'll get into all the things that they do now, but we're going to look at the history of the Prairie House and like what its role is in our community today, because it really does play a big role, I believe, in our community today. So first of all, let me ask you, Laura, why do you serve on the board for the Prairie House? What is the significance of it to you personally?
Well, I fell in love with Prairie House after having a Christmas party for our clinic there, and got to know Gail Loafman, who rescued the house from certain demise.
Right.
It was scheduled to be bulldozed. And Miss Gail had seen 13 other structures of its caliber destroyed. And she said, we're losing our history and it has to be saved and preserved.
Mm-hmm.
That's near and dear to my heart. I love history. I love genealogy. I love architecture. And so this house intrigued me because it is in the Prairie style, made famous by Frank Lloyd Wright. It is not a design of Frank Lloyd Wright's. Tradition says that it was a student of his, and we're still researching that.
Interesting.
But I became involved because of those reasons, along with the fact that I personally believe if you don't know your local history, that you're missing a great slice of your local culture.
Mm-hmm.
I also believe that it really must inform the decisions we make in the future. So I think it's important to teach children. My background's in education, so that's what I brought to the table mainly.
Mm-hmm.
And so we do education forums for local school groups, and those I think are one of our great joys.
Oh, right. Well, what about you, Susan? What brought you to the Prairie House, and why are you involved with it?
Well, I met Gail, and if you've ever met Gail Loafman,
Mm-hmm.
she
Miss
can
Gail
convince
is a
you.
powerhouse
Yes.
now.
She
She is passionate about the Prairie House.
She is, and the more I was around her and helped her raise money,
Mm-hmm.
and all, I just went on with the house
Mm-hmm.
and what it means, because the children, like Laura said, we need to show the younger generation what used to be.
Mm-hmm.
It was never always cell phones and things. It's so
Right.
that's really why I love it. Yeah.
Right.
And working with Laura, I mean, good grief. We get in trouble.
We get in a lot of trouble together. We're dear friends and love being
well,
together.
good. That's fantastic. That makes it even more. I mean, that's like a win-win-win or
Yes,
something, right?
Absolutely.
And so how long have you been serving?
That's what we can't really decide. It's been, what did we say?
I came into the Prairie House in 2014, and
About
you were
2012.
a couple of years ahead of me.
All right. So
Long
so
time.
quite a long time.
Yes.
That's a long time to be devoted
Yeah.
to such a I don't know, a historical, presence in the community. And so, I mean, over the last 6 to 8 years that you two have been there, have there been many changes, or did a lot of things happen prior to that?
A great foundation was laid by Miss Gail.
Uh-huh.
She, as I said, rescued the home. Susan referenced the fundraising that had to happen.
I've had some of those cinnamon rolls they
Yeah.
sell.
There seems like there's always a fundraiser going on, but we at the Prairie House, I think with that great foundation, we were able to just sort of expand what Miss Gail was already doing and take her vision and run with it. She still is involved in an advisory capacity, And we really cherish her advice. And
Mhm.
often we'll have a crazy harebrained idea and we'll go to her and she'll say, well, I tried that back in 2010 and this is what happened. And, so I think the areas where we have expanded are really expanding the depth of the education forums.
Mhm.
I really love, I taught science and math when I was teaching in the classroom, and then through a homeschooling experience that I had for many years, we really like hands-on. And so we incorporate the STEAM concepts into everything we do. We have here one of our block sets, and it is a Frank Lloyd Wright block set. And we use that in the education forums. We also expanded some of what we were doing in terms of reaching out to our community.
Mhm.
One of the things that Ms. Gale envisioned for that house was having it be a gathering place for all sorts of civic and private events. And so we're mostly famous for being a small wedding venue,
Mhm.
showers, class reunions, what else? Birthday parties. We had one man rent the entire house and have a dinner for his wife for their anniversary.
Oh,
We've had a sweet 16 birthday party there by a young lady whose
Uh-huh.
mother is involved with the Prairie House, and all sorts of activities. One sort of unusual way the house has been used in the last year was for a memorial event. And when Susan and I were approached about this, it was by a woman we know well, and it was heartrending to say the least, but it was such a joyous thing for the family because they weren't at an institution per se.
Mhm.
They went and had the regular funeral, but then just this gathering where they brought in pictures of their loved one and had a really fabulous time there. It was catered in, and
Oh, how nice.
so they just didn't have to do a lot of work.
Mhm.
Those because they're meaningful to us. For someone to choose the Prairie House to do that sort of thing, we do that at a half price rate. It just
Ah,
we just really want to do some things like that to reach out to the community when someone's in a time of need.
right.
The other thing that we do that we've expanded over the last couple of years is to hold at least 3 community-wide events that are free to the public, and we really love doing those. So we do an MLK Day celebration that takes place actually at several different venues in the city. Our
Mhm.
portion of it is Hearthside Storytime, and so we bring in books about famous African Americans, other famous people of color, and we have local teachers, council people. The mayor has attended before. Just come in and read books to the children, and we serve refreshments
Oh,
there
what
as
a
well.
great
It's
event.
very fun. That's
Yeah.
always our first one of the year, and it's a great
Uh-huh.
way to kick off things in January when we're getting
Absolutely.
close. So.
Right. Well, very nice. So we kind of skipped right to the way they are such an integral part of our community now. Let's step back even further back, way before your lady's time. Way. Tell me the history of the Prairie House. I mean, I've gone on the tours and sat and listened to it numerous times, but I love the story. It's so great.
Well, it was built in 1918 by W.T. Foreman, who was a local banker and pharmacist. He had a wife, Marietta, and she was a Whiznit over near the hospital. There's a street, Whiznit, that was named after her brother, who was a doctor in the early days of Duncan. So she was a local Duncan person, so was he, and they had a daughter named Lois. She was their only child, grew to be quite an accomplished pianist and organist. But they built the house in 1918 after their original house, which was wood frame, burnt down. And I think Mr. Foreman said, not me, not ever again, because that house is 3 bricks thick, and it originally had a red tile roof, which of course we'd love to replace the existing modern roof someday and go back to something like that. But it is built of local bricks, and at one time Duncan had 3 brick foundries. Across the street from it sat a 3-story Victorian style high school. And so that would have been the only thing in that block across from it. And because of that, they often boarded a young single teacher. In those days, ladies didn't live on their own.
Right.
So the Foremans lived there, and the house now is staged in the 30s. It was sort of in its heyday in the 20s and 30s. It was a vibrant center for entertaining, a vibrant family life. I should not neglect to mention that for many, many years, we've searched and searched for the name of the woman who served in their house as nanny, as cook, as housekeeper. And we're told that they had a really beautiful relationship, specifically between her and Lois. When Lois married, she moved next door and had a baby boy. And at that time, this woman went to her house and worked for her. This last year, after I've looked ever since I became involved, but through some local friendships that developed for me over the last 3 years, we found her family. They still live locally. Her name is Priscilla Prince, and I have a gorgeous photograph of her that one of the nieces loaned to me.
Oh my goodness, what
Yeah,
a treasure.
It's so exciting.
Wow.
And I have, I think you had Eve Cornejo, a friend of mine,
Yes.
on Trail Talk at one
Yes.
point recently, and she's going to do a painting for me of Mrs. Priscilla Prince.
Oh.
So I'm just delighted and can't wait to unveil that. We hope to have that ready in time for the MLK Days.
Oh my
Christmas
goodness.
celebration.
That is so exciting.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's a biggie, isn't it?
It is. So in time, the family line actually died out. That immediate family line of the Foremans died out because Lois had one son and he never married. They didn't have a son to carry on the family name.
Right.
And so over time, the house was left to distant relatives. It was rented out for a while, then fell into disrepair. Much later, then is when Ms. Gale rescued it. It is on the National Registry of Historic Places, and we have affiliations with Preservation Oklahoma, the National Trust. We also have more local relationships with groups like the DAR and Daughters of the American Colonists. In fact, this year, the local chapter of the Daughters of American Revolution adopted the Foreman Prairie House as their annual project. So
very nice.
we had a lot of discussion about how they wanted to serve and what they wanted to do at the house. And they've decided to staff it every second Saturday. So that's very exciting for us. We're a small volunteer organization, no paid staff members. We do it for fun. So it's really fun to have them on board and such a blessing.
Right. So, what do you know what year Gail really started her mission to save the house?
I believe that it was 2004.
Okay. I was thinking it was in the 2000s.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember because, I mean, she was very public about it. You know, she was really wanted people to get on board with this, I mean, just the salvation of this piece of property, you know.
And taking ownership of it.
Right.
One of the things we say to the children, I love to do this because it's a huge shock factor. There'll be a group of kids and I'll say, who does the house belong to? And they'll point at me because I'm leading the church. Say, no. Well, partly true. It's partly mine, but it's also partly yours and yours and yours. It belongs to the people of Duncan. And in that way, I get to describe to them sort of how it was saved and the fact that we are supported by the good people of Duncan.
Right. Very, very good. So 2004, then this has been 16 years in the making, and it's just a a beautiful piece of property. Now, tell us what the address of it is, just in case someone is watching and you've never been. I know you've been by there. You had to have been by there, but
it's at the corner of 9th and Oak, so 814 West Oak.
okay.
And it has a wrought iron fencing around it and beautiful grounds, and is just that stately home that you've seen. One of the things that we do, and you've been there, and so has Scott, through the Leadership Duncan classes. They're so gracious and keep us on that cultural tour every year. One of the men, and I think it was in your class, sidled up to me after that tour and he said, "Ma'am, I'm really ashamed to admit this, but I used to ride my bike past here in junior high, throw rocks in the windows." I said, "Well, we'll forgive you."
The truth comes out.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for years it was an eyesore.
Yeah.
But we refer to it sometimes as the crown jewel of Duncan. We really believe that that's true. We believe there's no other place that's been preserved like it, that is actually owned by the people of Duncan. In that sense.
Right. So if you're not sure about that location, it's just on the south, like across the street south from the old high school, right?
Old junior high.
Junior high, everything that piece of property has been.
Right now it's the wrestling center, and
Yes.
Gabriel's house is there.
Yes. So that piece of property has housed a lot of things. I can remember when Gail was fighting for that piece of property to be saved too.
Yes.
So she's just a warrior for those things. But the Prairie House, so it's 1918.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so over 100 years old, and it's been restored to the point where you really feel like you're stepping back in time.
Absolutely.
It's really just a time travel experience, and I love it because like Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts tour there. I'm sure Girl Scouts do, just all kinds of
Yes.
groups of children, families come there, and one of my favorite parts is upstairs where I believe Lois had like this every girl's dream for a room. It was like almost the whole top floor or something was hers. She just had a sitting room, and it was beautifully decorated, and a fireplace and a bedroom. I walk in there and I just think, oh my word, how wonderful, how wonderful it would be to have had a place like that. But it's just a really fun experience, as far as groups, like that, getting to go there, and like you say, allowing children to see firsthand, not just a picture in a book or on a screen,
Right. Yes.
but actually firsthand, and get their hands in there and see what this is all about. So okay, you mentioned Frank Lloyd Wright and the design of the house. So explain kind of the significance of that.
All right. Frank Lloyd Wright said of the Victorian homes that were popular during his early era, homes in America are a lie. He said they don't speak to the American plains and the prairies. They belong back in England and in Europe. And so he designed this low-lying structure, wide eaves, lots of windows to catch breezes in summer and provide ambient heat from sunshine in winter. He really sought to make every home consistent decoratively. As we know, many of his homes, he actually designed the furnishings and so forth. This one is in the Prairie style of architecture, and so it's perfectly suited to our climate and our seasons. But in 1918, it would have looked in that neighborhood as if it had been dropped out from outer space.
Right. Right.
Mr. Foreman actually borrowed the plans from a gentleman in Oklahoma City. And 3 years ago, Dr. Ron France, who's with the OU Department of Architecture, he had been enlisted by Gale some years earlier to help find the one in Oklahoma City. he found not one, but two twin houses to the Foreman house in Oklahoma City. This spring, I got to meet the owner of one of them, and she's anxious to come down with her husband and tour the Prairie house. But it was an odd introduction because I actually meant to just leave my card at her house. It was during a work day, and I happened to be in the city. And so I just drove by, and I thought, oh my goodness, it's the Foreman Prairie house in red brick instead of buff, right?
Wow.
And so I went up to the door, and the wooden door was slightly open. They have a glass door on the front, and I had the card in hand, and she happened to walk by, and she kind of looked out at me, and I stepped back and I said, this is really strange. I just intended to leave my card, but explained to her that I was with the Foreman Prairie house and why I had stopped by. And you know, she was very friendly, but also, as I would be, a little reticent at the door, you know,
Right.
meeting a stranger here. And I said, I just want to say, I know where those stairs lead. One set goes upstairs, one set goes down into the kitchen behind, doesn't it? And out the back of the kitchen is a servant's entrance. And she said, you're right. And so it was great. She hadn't owned the house very long, and she's anxious to get history, and I'm anxious to exchange with her. So it's very,
Wow,
very
that
fun.
is- so are both of the houses in Oklahoma City, like, people actually live in them?
Yes, they're in a historic district, and they've been beautifully preserved. She invited me in, actually, but I declined. I said, no, I'm a stranger, and
Right.
I'd love to come visit after you come visit the Prairie house.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, they're in a historic district and lived in every day.
Wow, that is really a very cool, another little link, you know, for the Prairie house. Wow. So, we've talked about the groups who come. Tell us a little bit about how you manage visits, you know, how does a person get to do that? And obviously, I'm going to guess a volunteer only staff.
Right.
You're probably not just open every day
We
to
just,
the public.
right, we just can't be. We would love to at some point, but for right now, we're open on Thursday afternoons and then every second Saturday. We do school tours by appointment. We also will show the house by appointment to people who are interested in renting the house. But as far as the tours go, we try to stick to those days. It's what we can manage right now.
Right.
The tour can be done in 30 minutes if we speed tour, but we really like an hour to an hour and a half. That way we get to share a lot of the history. With the school children, we do a solid hour and a half tour. When they first walk into the house, the first thing that hits them is the smell of rolls baking in our 1930s chambers oven. And I brought one of our butter churns here. It's a tabletop version. We have another that is the big one that most people my age and older would imagine, with the crockery and the dasher that you pump up and down. The kids all get to try those out. But what we have going the whole time is a little mason jar with a marble and cream in it. And somebody's shaking it the entire hour and a half. And so at the end of their tour, then we get to have butter and the home-baked bread out on the front porch. That tour consists of, not counting the snack at the end, consists of 3 portions: the tour of the house, an art and craft section, and then what we call kitchen conversations, which is a little more technical. And we vary these from, we've had preschoolers all the way up to college age, and then we've also had seniors come in. So we are happy to adjust our tour for whatever age group. I think our first one, and probably our favorite to this day, is the Mark Twain first grade. They come every year, and we just have a blast with those kids. They love, it's such a fun age of discovery.
Right.
And we love doing things to sort of freak them out. Like we pull out they're in the corner of the dining room, there's a 1928 Edison console. So it's a Victrola, but it's very streamlined looking. Instead of sort of the Victorian one, it looks very Art Deco. So we let the kids crank that up, and we talk about, how do you listen to music? How do you enjoy music in your home? and most of them have a cell phone or an iPad or a stereo. And then we start talking about playing instruments and how the child who lived in that house was a pianist. And then we talk about the radio and how that's changed. And those kinds of technological things are really fun. There's a wall phone in the upstairs hallway. And so we get to talk about party lines and how you used to have to wait your turn and all those sorts of things. That kind of flips them out to think about how people once communicated.
Right. So do you charge for these tours?
Yes, we do. The normal tour for just the citizen who makes an appointment or walks in off the street is $10 per person. The school children are $5.
Okay.
We don't really make money on that. We really,
Right,
it covers our supplies, but we really want to make that accessible. And then the teachers and the bus driver are free.
Oh, very
We just want
nice.
to make that accessible to the
Very,
children. Our passion is handing down this history and letting it inform our future. And I want to allude to one of my, I often tear up in the back hallway because this is near and dear to my heart after finding Mrs. Priscilla Prince and her family, actually. I've always said, standing in that little crowded back hall that has the servants' restroom, the door to the basement where a lot of the chores were done, and then the entrance, really the only entrance she would have been expected to come in. I point out children who might be Hispanic or Eastern Indian or Black. Myself, I've got Cherokee, and so I say, you, and me, we would not have been allowed at the front door. And this is one of the ugly parts of our history. And we talk about that. And I think in this world today where we hear so much shouting from opposing sides, it's really important to slow down and listen, and to teach our children to slow down and listen, think about how we might have done things in the past, take the good from it, as we try to do, and we try to focus on that, of course, in life.
Right.
But to also recognize the things that were not appropriate and how they've changed, and celebrate the change, but also work toward greater change.
Right.
So
Right. Good words. Very good words, Laura.
well, thank you. It's absolutely from the heart, and we all feel that way. Those of us who work there really want the children to know that there's a level playing field there, and that everyone's opinions are important and everyone's experience is important.
Right. Very nice. So, Susan, you're pretty quiet over there. Tell me a little bit about your very favorite thing that you've done while serving there at the Prairie House.
I would have to say the children, but then that's just a given.
Right.
We have so much fun, and we enjoy having those children come. I like our parties. I do. What was the, I can't remember all of the names, but I just love our parties. And this coming year, we're going to be doing quite a bit more too. So
It's like the community-wide events
E-
that you
even
put
the-
on,
yes,
or are you
yes.
talking about a different like
no,
parties
the
that you like?
community, the
Okay.
community. Yeah.
So talk
We've
about
had
those.
the wine tasting. We've had, and that was so much fun. Had a lot of people come, and we had that once a month. And then we had,
Tea, right?
oh yeah, our Mother's Day tea in May. That is so much fun.
Is that an annual event?
It's an annual event. We had to cancel it this year because of the COVID, but
Right.
an annual event, and everyone looks forward to it. And the whole house is rented out. You rent your table. Everyone's seated. So
Very
it's
nice.
the dining room is for ones that come by themselves. So we have all of those sitting, so they're not by themselves. So it's just a fun time. And we have, last year we had the stroll. We're not doing the stroll this time. We have vendors in the home. And yeah, it's just, I just have fun.
And so now these events that you're talking about, are those fundraising
Yes.
type events?
Some are and
Some-
some are not.
Okay.
We have, so the Mother's Day Tea is a fundraiser. We have our Members Matter campaign in January. And then in February, we celebrate with a champagne speakeasy. I mentioned earlier to you that we have a little slideshow that we're going to put up a link to later.
Right.
That one has photos from our speakeasy. We have a password you have to get in, and some people love to dress up, and it's just a fun event. So that one is it's sort of on to celebrate the end of that fundraiser. And then we have also we've had 2 or 3 things that we've hosted along with a local group called Standing for Change. We helped host the Love Wins Barbecue and then the Love Wins Ice Cream Social.
Right.
We also appear sort of pop-up style at the farmers market sometimes over at Thinkability First. And all of those things are free to the public. Some of those, like I said, are in partnership with other organizations and that sort of thing. We have done the holiday stroll, as Susan mentioned, the day of the Christmas parade. We're usually open. We have had a tree lighting and refreshments caroling there by Veronica Hodgson's Studio of Music and Drama.
Right.
They do a great job.
Yes, they do.
So I think in terms of our parties and our events, we love to collaborate with other people, such as we're doing today. I know a lot of our school tours will come to you in the morning, us in the afternoon, or vice versa, and hit the park in between for lunch. And that seems to be a common thread with schools and homeschool groups. But I think what we want people to understand is that we're not just an old house sitting there. We are alive when we're inhabited. And we want to be a place of collaboration, a place of community, where everyone can draw together. So that's why we do those 3 events per year that are free to the public. We did have 2 years ago our 100th birthday party. That was also a free event, sort of old-fashioned carnival style, and some pictures of that are on our little slideshow too. So we love doing things like that. It changes from year to year because Susan and I get wild ideas and decide to try something new.
We had the pumpkin patch this year.
That's right.
We had the pumpkin patch because everyone had been saying you need to do the pumpkin patch. We did, and it was a hit.
This is another one of our collaborations with Garden Town.
Yes.
I mean, it was just, we had it.
Right.
And it was really quick.
Right.
And it was so much fun because one day at the house, we had 4 generations come and do pictures on the pickup that we had the old, what was it, a 1942?
40, maybe.
47, something like that.
1940s.
The 1940s pickup. And it was wonderful. People went all over the yard, on the steps out in front of the house, taking pictures, and that was all free.
Oh, how nice.
That was all free. Now, when they sat at the pickup, it was, what was it, 10?
It was a donation.
It was a
suggested
donation. Yeah, it was all donation. And then Laura did several tours because people came. We've never been here. This is wonderful. So our whole deal is we may not make a lot of money on our fundraisers, but we want people there. We want people to see what the house is and the opportunities that they have to enjoy the home.
Right.
We had a little 8-year-old girl and her mother and 2 sisters come. And for her birthday, she was trying to find a place to have a birthday party. And so they were looking at the house and she was kind of hemming all around. And the older daughter said, well, we could always go to the skating rink. And the little girl went, I said, do you want to have something that no other little girl has had here in Duncan? And her eyes got really large. And I said, do you want to have a makeup party? And she started screaming. So they did. They rented the house, reserved the house for this 8-year-old birthday party. They did. The mothers brought the curling irons and all. It was just, we did makeup in the dining room, and then or the breakfast room, and then the mothers were doing the hair, and we had the boas, and they took pictures outside. And
I was thinking the stairs.
They did.
Right there on the stairs taking
They
pictures.
did. It was an absolute That was one of the funnest.
It's a joy.
times. It was. It was so much
I
fun.
love all those ideas. Now, if you guys are like me and you've known about the Prairie House for a long time, but you didn't realize all of the different activities that they offer, all of the just fun opportunities that you might have missed out on. I feel like
Yeah.
I've been missing
Yeah, you
out,
have.
girls.
Yeah, it's
I need to
wonderful.
get to the Prairie House and enjoy myself a little bit. So I'm kind of hoping that you guys are feeling the same way. Do you want to add anything else before you want to say anything else about the house, or you think we've covered it? I feel like we've
I
covered
think
a
so.
lot
We've
of
covered
information.
a lot of ground. It's
Mhm.
almost overload, I think. But
Oh, no,
No.
no. I think all of it is pertinent information for the Prairie House.
Well, I think Susan said it best. We love having people there. We love having people utilize the home. And so if the viewers have an event they want to host, you don't want to clean your house, or you need maybe a bigger space, or you need a smaller venue than you've got, then we fit a lot of those needs, and really love people coming in.
That it's just what a great episode today. I am so excited for everyone to get to hear all of this information. And you guys have a website.
We do, www.prairiehouseok.com.
Okay, prairiehouseok.com. We will put that in the comment section of this on the Facebook video, Facebook Live. And also, Laura has a video, a little, I guess it's a slideshow to music that we're going to play and let you guys get kind of a taste of it. And then we'll put the link to that also in the comment section on this program, so you can view that. I have a feeling there's a lot of fun things to see in this slideshow. And maybe you want to go build something with some Frank Lloyd Wright blocks, or make some butter and have some hot, warm, fresh out of the oven rolls. I don't know about y'all, but I'm kind of feeling it right now. So anyway, guys, think about visiting the Prairie House. Did you have a phone number also that people can call?
Yes, 580-512-9153.
Okay, we will also put that in the comments section. So, okay, 580.
512-9153.
There we go. It's going in there right now. You just say it around here. We are so prompt on our information providing. So, Laura, do you want to get that little slideshow?
Yes.
And she's going to walk up and hold it, because we are so high tech around here too. She's going to hold it up in front of the camera there, or I can do that for you if you'd like.
Just
Okay.
press play.
Okay.
Thank you so much for letting us
thank
come
you.
and visit with you today.
Absolutely.
What a pleasure.
Well, we're going to play a little bit of it, and then we're going to sign off, because on Trail Talk we sign off in a
yes,
kind of a fun little way.
Yes.
So let me. There we go. Now, are these original photographs of the family?
They are.
Okay.
That's Mrs. Prince.
Mrs. Prince, this is, wow. This is their first car.
High school.
Okay, the high school across the street. What? Okay, I'm getting weird directions here. What? Oh. That's a little bit glare. Oh, the speakeasy. Okay. A gathering there. Okay. Oh, I see some fancy dressers here. Okay, and a photo booth. And oh, here we go. Some pictures. If you're looking and these are you, we want you to give us a little shout out here. Is this a performance at the Speakeasy? Okay. Well, I'm going to say we're going to pause it there because I think you guys are going to want to go online and watch it and not have to have some Dramamine to survive it, because there was might get a little motion sick with all the moving I was doing up there. So anyway, ladies, thank you so much. Laura McGouran and Susan Nutt representing the Foreman Prairie House, the crown jewel, as these ladies would say, of Duncan. We're so glad you could join us today on Trail Talk. And so, ladies, when we sign off, we say happy trails and give everybody a big wave. So, Scott, are we ready? Okay, 1, 2, 3, then, ladies. Happy trails.
Happy trails.
Bye.
Bye.